to create the pyramid. And they're using you and putting you in that position to hold them up. That's what it's about. So yeah, you go to college, you be a collegiate scholar, you go on to be a prominent person, a doctor, a lawyer, what have you. You see these people throwing up their little, they shit to let people know, especially celebrities, we'll get into this, to let people know who they are, what they represent. Plain and simple. They throw it up. And yeah, you're an actor now. You're an athlete now, musician or what have you. We're going to use you, same as all, to hold that structure together. So I know a lot of people want to understand, what they're talking about, in the deepest parts of these secret societies, of what it's all about and what it's the rituals all about and everything like that. And if you watch a lot of my DVDs, for the most part, you understand this already. But when we ask the question, how did they get in power so fast? This is how. This is how they did it. They did it behind closed doors, secretly, discreetly. And we were in chains. We were wherever we were while these white men were meeting and discussing this knowledge. This is not about, these secret societies are not about a bunch of white men sitting around drinking brandy and smoking cigars and talking about knowledge. It's about them organizing and applying that knowledge so they can build their pyramid, plain and simple. So they can build their structure, their agenda, plain and simple. And this is what it's about. And this is exactly what they have done. Don't get caught up in, the rituals, the stuff that they show you purposely to scare you away from what's going on. Keep you running back to that Jesus. That's what it's about. So when you really grasp it, look at everything I've talked about with ancient Kemet and where they got the information from. This is what's being talked about behind closed doors. The application of your energy being used to fulfill agendas while basically not defying universal law. Because when you pay attention to everything that they have accomplished, we have given to them. Pay attention. You're talking about the wars that were fought by us. You're talking about the laws that was passed by us. You're talking about everything that was given, the gold that we gave them. People wrote down stuff on the paper, contracts, binded us to these contracts that we, unwillingly or really didn't care about, because as long as they're not affecting you personally at this moment in time, a lot of people don't care. That's why societies are able to flourish, because if we can't see what they're doing and how it's directly affecting us today, for the most part, we don't care. But we enter into these agreements not understanding what they mean, and that we are giving ourselves over to universal law, while these people at that top block, guess what? They get to chill. You got to understand that these politicians and these people who come into these spots, they are initiated. They are backed by the people that's in these secret societies. They are put out there by these people. The same thing with Obama. When you follow Obama, which Obama is in, Bole like everybody else, when you follow these people, they are backed by somebody and they put in that position. Look at any black person that's in any high position and look at who he follows. It's somebody who's Jewish. So we got to understand, one, as it pertains to us, one of the things, of course, they would have to do was to control the progress of African American people. Many ways they could do that. But if you're not in with us, if you're not getting control of the people who's going to have the power to change us, to move us, then you're going to lose. So you got to think about that. Okay, so we can't risk a Messiah or somebody with any kind of power rising up in the black community and leading black people to the promised land. So we have to give them that person. We have to give them that Messiah. And we got to control that Messiah and put them out there before one comes naturally. So this is what they did. But first, these people had to be initiated. And they had to be given that assignment and that agenda to accomplish. So we had these universities going up across America. And we had these fraternities going up. And of course, at that time, in the beginning, they wouldn't allow black initiates and they wouldn't allow women initiates. Now, a lot of people will tell you that the Bole was first, cool secret society, it was just black people trying to have their own secret society. But that wasn't the case. They were sellouts. The black people who founded the Bole were sellouts and basically was tasked to put it together by Jews, plain and simple. We know that because if they was truly, learned black people who understood the mystery school teachings and wanted to put it out for other black folks, they wouldn't have chose the name Boule because it's Greek. And, one of the founding members supposedly was W.E.B. Du Bois, which is why we know about W.E.B. Du Bois in school. And I always talk about Du Bois because he was one of the people who basically set up Marcus Garvey and had him deported. So I never really liked him. But W.E.B. Du Bois, one of the members for the Boule, and Boule in Greek basically means appointed to run daily affairs for the city, or it also means that you are basically a advisor to a king. It says nobles advising a king. Think about that. So if you are in the society of Boule, you basically an errand boy, which is saying. So either you working for the city, as it's saying here, or you're working for the king, which that's basically what it means. Nobles advising a king. They are doing the dirty work of the white man, plain and simple. You have members like W.E.B. Du Bois and his Jewish, handlers who basically funded him and helped him form the NAACP. So now it says here, American Jews play a significant role in the founding and funding of some of the most important civil rights organizations, including the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, hate that, and the Student Nonviolent Coordination Committee. In 1909, Henry Moskowitz joined W.E.B. Du Bois and other civil rights leaders to found the NAACP. Kyrie Kaplan, the vice chairman of the Union of American Hebrew Congregations, served as the national president of the NAACP from 1966 to 1975. Arnie Aronson worked with A. Philip Randolph and Roy Wilkins to fund the Leadership Conference. From 1910 to 1940, more than 2,000 primary and secondary schools and 20 black colleges, including Howard, Dillard, and Fisk universities, were established in whole or in part by contributors from Jewish philanthropist Julius Rosenwald. At the height of the so-called Rosenwald schools, nearly 40% of Southern blacks were educated at one of these institutions. Now, my last few videos, what have I been talking about? Jews being Greeks, hiding behind the name Jew. Plain and simple. So it's showing you, their progress, all the way making it to America and the establishment of America and the schools and implanting themselves in every facet of any kind of power. Being the money, the backing behind these black folks. Now, when you understand about all that, you basically have them saying to these black sellouts that if you help us establish this, we're going to basically open up the books for you. We're going to make it so black folks are going to be able to do certain things. We're going to make it so you are able to do certain things. You can get in here. You can have this kind of money. You can do this. You can do that. And they took it. Plain and simple. And all it was about was simply gaining control of any type of black person with the knowledge to have power, with any kind of resource or any kind of know-how that could eventually lead to them being a leader one day. They wanted to make sure they got their hands on them in the beginning to control their rise. And yes, Dr. King was a member. We know Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, so many others were members. And that's what they were promised. Plain and simple. Sellouts from the jump. And you got to understand that. That's what they was. All backed by these secret societies. That's what it's about. So what we see on the surface, you don't understand what's happening behind closed door or how these people even got in that position. And this is why I say critical thinking, because you got to understand something. The spreading of Dr. King and everything that was happening with civil rights. If these people wanted to simply cut it, they would have never reported on it. You would have never read about it. You would have never seen it on TV. Especially since these people control media. We didn't have no media control in the 60s. Now, we could understand stuff that was happening in the black community, but if they wanted to manipulate the black community, they had to put it on TV. Now, to even get into the boule, you cannot, just come in. You can't apply for it. You have to be selected. And that's one of the keys right there. They have to make sure that you fit the criteria of a sellout. Plain and simple. So when you see these people cooning out and selling out, that's why either they want to get in boule or they're already in. You have to be selected. They pick their members by selection to come in and join a fraternity. And then you see, once these people get in, how they turn up in wealth or in popularity, like Steve Harvey, and a couple of these other people. You'll notice it, like, damn, like how he just all of a sudden started blowing up. And we think it's just their celebrity, when no, they sold out. They got brought in because they showed signs of either somebody who they can manipulate and use to help them out, or that, there was a person that basically fit in because of something that they said. To me, when I look at a lot of these celebrities, how they are a part, they end. Especially when you go back and look at their history and see that they was part of a fraternity. It makes a lot of sense. But it don't matter what fraternity that you're involved in or what secret society you join, it's controlled by the Jews. You controlled by the white man, plain and simple. Rules you got to follow. And you found that out the hard way later on. Now, I made this picture to basically show a lot of Muslims that was talking crap, about their society, about their religion, I should say, and what it really is, and to understand and trace it back to these origins. Now, clear as day, you have Albert Pike, considered co-founder of the KKK, one of the highest ranking Freemasons of all time. Now, that should say something right there. That collaboration of a KKK member and a Mason should tell you something. I get a lot of people who ask me, hey, I'm thinking about joining the Freemasons, or, I was asked to join the Freemasons. What should I do? Why would you want to join a society that was basically, conspiring and working with members of the KKK? I mean, you got to think about that. But pay attention and look. The picture's crazy for anybody who understands esoterically. Not just the symbolism itself. You have the original KKK costume having the Shriners symbol, which is the Islamic symbol. Plain and simple. You have Music Clan, sounds like Muslim. You have Cloron, sounds like Quran. It's right there, clear as day. You have these men wearing fezzes with Islamic symbolism on it. Do any of these people look like Muslims to you? Talked about this before. Should tell you something. What is that about? You have this connection. You look at Truman, president. Was this president Muslim? No, got a fez on. These people wearing fezzes with Islamic symbolism. What is that about? What is going on? And you see how everything is incorporated. Everything is mixed together. Everything ties into one another, on a level of secret society. It's all the same stuff run by these Jews who are Greeks, who are basically white folks. We have this problem as black people wanting to be a part of something. Everybody want to be affiliated with something. Nobody don't want to stand specifically for ma'at, truth, plain and simple. I don't have a religion, but if I'm going to follow anything, it's going to be truth, because that's all you should follow. All these other cliques and societies and groups is bullshit to keep you away from truth. You got to understand that. So we got a habit of trying to just jump in and follow anything. And you got to think about how old Freemasonry is, that while you were in chains, in slavery, that these Masons were still running around. These slave masters was Masons. Plain and simple. You have a lot of people in the KKK, Masons. Plain and simple. And they actively sook and tried to recruit members of secret societies. So I'm going to read here. So this is basically a pamphlet from the KKK trying to recruit people on the basis of Protestant Christianity. Now it's saying here, help us put this pamphlet in the hands of every Mason, Odd Fellow, Knight of Pythias, which I'll talk about in a second, Klansman, and Fraternalist of every Protestant American organization just as rapidly as possible. Now you have the Knights of Pythias. Now, the Knights of Pythias is basically based off of, again, Greek mythology, Greek stuff. Of course, goes back to it. When you get into these secret societies, we know, it goes back to the Greeks. Same as the fraternities, go back to the Greeks. The people who stole everything goes back to the Greeks. And I'm the only one. You're not going to find too many people harping and picking up on the fact that the Greeks is responsible for this stuff. But you have the Knights of Pythias, right? And you have the story of Pythias and Damon. Now, Pythias and Damon is an old story about friendship. So you had Pythias and Damon, who were followers of Pythagoras. Now, Pythias was accused of trying to basically assassinate Dionysus, right? So Dionysus basically sentenced him to death. So Pythias basically say, okay, I accept this fate, what have you. But first, let me leave, go say farewell to my family, my friends and everything like that. And then I'll come back and, face my execution. And Dionysus is like, hell no. If you leave, you ain't never coming back, of course. Why would I let you go? So Damon, his friend, steps in and says, I'll take his place. I'll stay here while he go and say farewell to his family. I'll basically stay here in this place. So Dionysus says, okay, well, if you don't come back by this date, we're going to kill you. And they agree on it. Dionysus, of course, believes that he ain't never coming back. He thinks it's the last time he's going to see him. So long story short, Pythias leaves. He doesn't return when he's supposed to return because he was basically kidnapped by pirates and they threw him overboard. He had to swim ashore. So right before Damon was about to be executed, Pythias shows up. Late, but he shows up. And he explains to Dionysus what happened. So despite him being kidnapped and thrown overboard, he still, broke his neck, rushed trying to hurry up and save his friend to get back there to die in his place. So he basically escaped death to go die for his friend. So Dionysus basically set them both free, being moved by the story. So this is the formation or the story for the formation of the Knights of Pythias, which is a secret society based off brotherhood, because that's what the story is about. Just to understand some of the type of ways and stories that were used to establish fraternities. One of the reasons, of course, to get people to join, but of course there was sinister reasons behind, the true meaning of the secret society, or they had deeper, more sinister actions that they were going to be performing. But you had at a point in time, of course, once black people started to understand about these secret societies, they wanted in. And it was a big discussion about allowing black people into these Freemasonry, and something that when you understand it, it's like, why would we let black people in? This is basically, against them when you understand the top block. Maybe the people lower didn't understand that, but some people probably could figure it out. But when the subject came up, this is what was talked about. Now it says here, admitting Negroes to Masonry. I'm going to skip down here. A few Grand Lodge jurisdictions have been reported to have admitted Negroes into membership in sympathy with the Anti-Slavery Society, and also a few had been admitted during the Revolutionary War by traveling lodges belonging to the British Army due to feelings which existed at the time against the American patriots. The lengthy resolution in 1876 carries the segregation origin issue on which seems to be based. The Masonry stand all the way back to the original father of mankind and his immediate descendants, or to Enoch and Noah, or to building of King Solomon's temple, or arising from the constitutions of Pythagoras, or back to, as I was just talking about, or to those of Ceres and the institution of the Bacchanalia, which Bacchanalia is a festival having to do with Dionysus. Or what is most probable of all, the incorporations of the Roman builders under Numa Pompilius. That theory carries us back to the Caucasian race. To most Masons, whatever all this means was surely for them to keep in line with the original and fundamental law of the fraternity. It was therefore again resolved to not admit nor recognize Negroes as Masons. The issue had remained the same for 150 years among Alabama Masons.